Do people deserve to die? If an inmate caused chaos and destruction everywhere they went, do they deserve to die? Especially if they show no signs of remorse. Is death an exceptional punishment? So in today's case, Christopher Scarver has killed the infamous serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer alongside Jesse Anderson. And most people don't know who Jesse Anderson is. He's convicted for murdering his wife. He basically stabbed her in the face in the middle of the parking lot. So let's talk about it. Chris Scarver was born on July 6, 1969. Chris is the second child of 5 children, and he grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He went to James Madison High School, but shortly after that, he did drop out in the 11th grade. He was only 15 years old. Shortly after that, his mother kicked him out because he became addicted to drugs and alcohol. Mostly, he was smoking the devil's lettuce, and he had a big problem when it comes to drinking. He was only 15 years old when he developed these addictions. So Chris is currently 19 years old, and he got himself a job as a trainee carpenter. Chris believed that his boss will give him a full-time position, but he was eventually let go. So now that Chris found out that his boss was fired, he didn't get a full-time position, and that caused him to go back into heavy drinking. He was taking drugs on a daily basis, and things went downhill very fast. So Chris was drinking on a daily basis to the point he developed delusions. He was hearing voices telling him that he is the chosen one and he has to cleanse the earth of the people that are doing the wrong things, like any sinner that he would find, anyone that is going against God and the practices of Jesus Christ. He really did believe that he was some sort of Messiah. So based on his delusions, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and it's believed that he was experiencing messianic delusions. And I was thinking, what does that mean? So messianic delusions is a complex mental state in which a person believes that they are the Messiah or a prophet. They believe that they will redeem people in a religious endeavor. It's also a state of mind believing that Chris can redeem others and he has to use violence to save others from themselves. So on June 1st, 1990, Chris is 21 years old, and at this point he's training in the office at the Wisconsin Conservation Corps and found a site manager called John Fayen. And his other employee, Stephen Lohan, was there. So as Chris was pointing the gun at John, he demanded money from him, and John panicked and he took out his wallet, and all he had was $15, which is equivalent to $35 in today's money. And when Chris saw the money, he was like, "Are you joking?" And he just goes 0 to 100 and he shoots John in the head. John collapsed to the ground and he shoots him 2 more times, killing him instantly. Chris said, and I quote, "Now do you think I'm kidding? I need more money." Chris just flew off the handle. So Steve was there as a witness and he watched everything go down. So Stephen panics and brings out his checkbook and wrote a check to Chris and gave him $3,000. So when Chris was quite satisfied with the amount, Stephen makes a run for it. Chris is shooting at him, however he misses. Stephen survived this whole ordeal, however John didn't. So Stephen ran into his car, he's out, and obviously he calls the police. The police shortly apprehend Chris that is sitting outside of his girlfriend's apartment. So in 1992, Chris was found guilty of murder and the jury has sentenced him to life in prison. He was held at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin. If I said that wrong, I do apologize. So on November 28th, 1994. This is 2 years after Chris was convicted of first-degree murder. Chris was assigned to work in the prison locker rooms with 2 inmates, Jeffrey Dahmer and Jesse Anderson. Jesse has killed his wife by stabbing her in the face, and this occurred in broad daylight. So if you're interested in me discussing the case of Jesse Anderson, do let me know in the comment section down below. Jeffrey Dahmer, if you don't know, he was convicted of killing 17 men and boys. His case is quite infamous. He was also a necrophile, was sexually assaulting his victims. It's all bad. What he did was all bad. So the correctional officer was there watching them. However, he left the room for some reason. However, the correctional officer left the room. Some sources say that he went out to take a phone call, but nobody is a fan of anyone in prison anyway. So at some point, a confrontation happened. Chris somehow was triggered by Jesse and Jeffrey. I don't know what was said. However, Chris made it really clear that both men were not repentant and they had absolutely no remorse for the crimes that they have committed. So Chris went to the weight room and took out a metal bar and hit Jeffrey in the face twice. He struck him in the head as well, which caused his skull to fracture. Jeffrey was bleeding profusely and the injuries were life-threatening. Chris also attacked Jesse with a wooden stick while he was cleaning the showers. Some sources say that he killed Jesse first and then Jeffrey, or the other way around. I'm not quite sure. After the murders, Chris just walked back into his cell. When the correctional officer came to see him, said basically that God told him to do it, and Jeffrey and Anderson are both dead. Both men were critically injured from the attack. Jeffrey Dahmer died 1 hour after reaching the hospital. Jesse died 2 days later while he was on life support. So the trial begins. Chris was escorted into the courtroom and he was singing.
His first court appearance, Scarver entered the courtroom singing.
Rain or shine, sharing your dreams, your heart and your mind.
Chris was evaluated for mental illness, however, he was competent to stand trial. And he changed his plea to not guilty to no contest. He did this so he could be exchanged to a different federal prison. Shortly after, obviously, he was convicted for 2 more murders and received 2 more life sentences. Some sources say that Chris was staying in solitary confinement for over 18 years. I don't know if you're allowed to keep an inmate for that long. Additionally, he killed 3 people: his boss, and 2 other convicted murderers. This is all going back to his messianic delusions that he was suffering with when he was a teenager. However, there's no excuse to kill a person. He also stated that he believes in a God of vengeance. I don't think you should use religion as a way to harm others. It's just not how it works. So Chris is currently 55 years old and he's serving time in the Centennial Correctional Facility in Colorado. So he moved away from Wisconsin. He wants nothing to do with it. And during his time in incarceration, he has written quite a few books and poems. He also stated that he will do a tell-all book regarding his murders, on why he killed Jeffrey Dahmer and Jesse Anderson. He's going to go into more detail. So that brings us to the end of today's case. Do let me know what you think of Chris. Some people find him controversial, but to me personally, he's just another convicted murderer. He's just using religion as a way to justify his actions. It's just not right. Please do stay safe and hydrated, and I will see you guys in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.